Losing a loved one is never easy, and sometimes it's hard to cope with the grief. Some fall back on therapy and some on faith. Iowa's News Now anchor Netta Sharma used her own personal experience to see just how our faith leaders and counselors help those who need a bit more of a helping hand.
There's things in life you can't avoid, some tougher than others. The death of a loved one, it's probably the toughest. I became all too familiar with that on March 24th when I saw my father for the last time. And from my experience, I wanted to know more about how our three main religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and their leaders all help guide us through the grief.
Usually my goal is to encourage the family to talk about their loved one. We will make sure that we reach out to the family periodically over the next year. If a person is really struggling, then we will have assigned a caregiver.
Judaism does take it from a very real place and doesn't try and hide it. When you ask how meaningful is it to embrace somebody, emotions are so raw here. These are the things that they remember from this moment forward.
For every mosque or every Islamic center or Muslim community around the country, people are very close and the whole community comes together as one family. We invite the entire community. So families within hours will receive condolences and support from people that they might not even know their names.
And although our religious beliefs are different, some traditions are very similar.
Burial in Judaism usually traditionally happens in 24 hours.
Helping them process this logistical part as quick as possible can free their time and their resources so that they can focus on the work that matters most, which is grieving.
Often guiding through their own difficult personal experiences.
I know in my own case, I have a son who died just before his 40th birthday. 6 weeks later, he appeared in a dream that I had and said, "It's good, Mom, it's good."
And for all of us, the interpretation of life after takes on a different meaning.
One of the major pieces of Christian thinking is that when Christ was buried and descended to the realm of the dead, he tore down the gates of hell. And in that icon, he's lifting Adam and Eve out of their graves. That's the resurrection.
The interesting thing in Islam is that death is not the end. It is almost like a transitioning period. Life carries on and continues after death. Maybe in the spiritual realm, not in the physical one as we know it, but it's seen as a continuity of life in a much more freeing sense. And perhaps that helps with the grieving.
But what all our leaders agree on is that when the grief is too much to handle, seeking help elsewhere is always an option.
There's so much stigma around getting help for any mental health issue, especially grief. There's a narrative in our American culture that we have to, in many ways, pick ourselves up and push on. That's one of the things we do on crisis lines, is give people the space to express that fully, authentically, and without judgment, which I think is the other thing that makes it difficult to reach out, is that there's judgment. You shouldn't feel this way, or you should be over it, or this, that, or the other. And that's just not how it works.
And there was that one reminder from all those I spoke with.
Comfort is always the first role, is to offer comfort and condolence and make sure that they understand when they're not alone. There are people here. We're going to be with you to help you through it. Right, I know the steps, right, that you need to take, and we can work through them.
That image of God is implanted within us like a little tiny piece of DNA. It can't be removed. And even if we are not aware of God's presence, God is always with us.
They don't have to go through the difficulties and the challenges of life by themselves. And at a moment of loss like this, as great and grave as death, this reminder becomes even more essential and needed.
For Iowa's News Now, I'm Netta Sharma.